All right, looks like this thing's working now. All right, first live stream of hopefully many here to come, and gonna be a little kinks along the way, but let's just work with it, see how this goes. We'll play around with it. Hopefully the audio is not too bad. I don't know. We'll play around with the audio settings. We'll see how it goes. But right off the bat, I want to dive into the thing that everybody in college football is talking about right now. None other than the playoff expansion. Because for some reason, they decided to go from the 4-team system, which was all right. Maybe they could have gone to 6, but they decided, oh no, we're just gonna do we're gonna add a couple more teams. Oh, you want to add 2 more? Nah, double that. You're gonna add 4 more? No, double that again. You're gonna add 8 more? Yeah, we're gonna add 8 more. What are we doing? I feel like I'm Walter White from Breaking Bad here. We are diluting the product. We need to cleanse the errors with the product. I feel like Walter White right now. Walter White in the entire thing, Breaking Bad, he's just complaining about the product, aka the method he's making. But it's all about the product. If somebody disrespects the product, his cooking process, he just refers to as the product is unclean. And that's what I feel like with this college football play of expansion. The product is just unclean. It's diluting the process. Sure you can go to the store and buy, I don't know, buy a case of beer. Beer is 2.5% alcohol most of the time. Miller Lite, that stuff. And then guess what? Miller Lite can turn around and be diluted, and they can, it's cheaper to make it if they dilute it. Make it down to 1.25% alcohol. But who the heck wants diluted beer? That's exactly what they're doing with the college football schedule by doing these playoffs. They're diluting their product here. They're taking this schedule of, you have some highly competitive games in conference. All of a sudden, you can have a 3-loss team in there. Alabama could lose 3 games in the SEC. They could lose to Florida, they could lose to Georgia, and they could lose, I don't know, Ole Miss, A&M, one of those two, and still make it in. Let's pull up the rankings from last season. For some reason I can't seem to here we go. So we're first looking at the rankings right here. You got Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincinnati. They were in there last year. Then you got your 1-loss Notre Dame team, 2-loss Ohio State team, 2-loss Baylor team. And you go all the way down, all of a sudden you have this 3-loss Utah team, number 11. They would have gotten in the playoffs. That just dilutes the product there. And realistically, too, let's look at this. Do we really think, I don't know how they would do a 12-team playoff. I imagine they'd probably do somewhere along the lines of the first 4 seeds get a first-round bye, and everybody else has to play it out. But if they didn't do that, do we really think Pittsburgh is going to go to Tuscaloosa and win this thing? I don't know about that, to be honest with you. I don't think so. Do we think Utah is going to go into Ann Arbor and be able to, be competitive? We all saw that Washington-Michigan game begin the season last year. It wasn't that great. It was pretty lopsided. And, Michigan, either today or tomorrow, plays Colorado State to begin the season. Michigan does pretty well against the Pac-12 year in and year out. And then, Oklahoma State versus Georgia. I'm sorry, Oklahoma State. I don't know about that one. Just keep on going down the list. I just don't know how competitive games we would have. Now, the other option would be to kind of do a bracket like this. they do a first round bye where you got Ole Miss playing Oklahoma State. I mean, Matt Corral versus I think Bubba Wallace is his name. I don't know. The quarterback's name is Wallace. I'm pretty sure he's still there this year too. But I mean, all it takes is for one of these players to look at the bracket and go, I'm not getting paid to do this. I played the regular season. Dude, I don't know if I want to go to Tuscaloosa and play because I'm not getting paid for this and I don't want to get hurt. So I'm just going to sit out. Because that's a lot of the guys are arguing too that, hey, this is going to encourage players to not sit out bowl games, increase the importance of bowl games again. Well, yeah, but what happens when somebody just pulls a Christian McCaffrey in one of these playoff games and they look at their opponent they're playing? Oh, I'm a 12 seed playing 1 seed Alabama. Yeah, we're not going to win this game and I don't want to get hurt because I'm the best player on the team, so they're going to give me the ball 20 plus times a game. That's a lot of opportunities to get hurt, especially when I'm 2 months away from the draft. So I don't know about that. But it's just dilutes the regular season. I mean, and then some people are arguing that, it just encourages teams to schedule cupcake games because guess what? You schedule 4 just absolute weak teams that you have no business playing. You're going to blow out. Oh, no, you don't get ranked in the top 4 because of the strength of schedule. So all of a sudden you get pushed down to number 7, but you're still undefeated and you're still in the playoffs. Now, other people are arguing, too, that, it's going to encourage teams to schedule stronger games because there's less emphasis on, you have to go undefeated or you can only have 1 loss by a narrow margin to get into the playoffs. That's not so much the case. I mean, this is America. I mean, if the end result is the same, do we know anybody that would take that high road of, oh no, I got to get beat up and get blown and possibly, blown out or lose to a really good football team? Or, I could take the cupcake schedule and get to the same place, still get to the playoffs. Everybody's got to take the cupcake schedule. I don't have to tell you guys. I mean, Clemson's doing it. Alabama's doing it. So they need to go in there and reassess the scheduling of these games. I mean, almost limit it to, hey, you can only play other Power 5 schools and then a limited select few non-power group of 5 teams and maybe some FCS teams. If you want to play like a North Dakota State or James Madison, maybe even South Dakota State occasionally. I don't know, but if you want to play North Dakota State, go ahead. I got no problem with that. I mean, that's North Dakota State could very easily be an FBS team. They just, they're happy where they're at. But in terms, if they want to do that, some coaches are still going to argue, hey, well, like, how are we going to do a tune-up? Well, just let them do scrimmages. I mean, that's what the NFL is doing now. The NFL, nobody plays in the preseason anymore. Everything that used to be during a preseason game now takes place in practice. About week 2 of the preseason in the NFL, like Hard Knocks, we all watched it with the Detroit Lions and Indianapolis Colts had about 2-3 days of camp where they were able to do scrimmages against each other, but it was scenario scrimmages, 2-minute drill, red zone defense, red zone offense, and that kind of deal. And that's allowed them to really assess their talent, put different personnel in there for different opportunities, and see what they have. And that's how a lot of teams are kind of moving towards that way. I mean, even in the high school level too. I mean, you got some of the large teams are meeting for these, quote unquote jamborees. Where, I mean, up in Charlotte, you had Charlotte Catholic, Weddington, and somebody else. I forget the third school, but those 3 schools all met and just one Saturday back in early August, they all just played each other. So the 3 of them just all played against each other, and that's how they got a lot of good work in. A lot of different players got to play, a lot of different opportunities. So, I mean, maybe we just move to only playing Power 5 teams, but instead allow these teams to, schedule some closed scrimmages. I mean, heck, if Clemson wants to bring Coastal Carolina in, Coastal Carolina can be a competitive team. Now, I think in an actual football game, Coastal Carolina would only be competitive through, midway through the third quarter, and I think just the talent difference and just ability difference in the teams would just take over, and there would be wouldn't be very competitive fourth quarter. But the first half of the game, I think would be super competitive. It would surprise a lot of people. So why don't we just bring them over, let them practice in August? Because, like I said, we're the only division of football. I mean, college football is the only division of football now that is not scrimmaging other teams. Whether it be NFL, high school, even, some middle schools, I'm sure, are doing it too. I mean, we just kind of need to get the program, get things going, and reassess it because we're making changes to the playoffs and we need to make changes to the schedule as well. I mean, Nick Saban's come out and said that he thinks that teams should only play Power 5 schools. But he also knows that he said multiple times, and this is his big recruiting pitch to players, is the best, most talented guys that you are going to face are the ones that you're practicing with day in and day out, and those are the guys that get you better, which in many cases is true. I mean, Alabama playing Vanderbilt. Do we really think it's a super competitive game? That's pretty debatable. Quite debatable, to be honest with you. But instead, you got a bunch of 5-star, 4-star guys going against each other every single day in practice. That's some of the best work they're going to get is during those scrimmages, during those live periods in practice. And, maybe we can just expand upon that, change it as a whole. But we'll see. It'll be quite interesting to see what becomes of that. But, I mean, everybody's kind of just losing it. I mean, I found this one quite funny. What in the Texas A&M do these corrupt people decide? No, I'm not the only one that thinks Texas A&M's corrupt. I mean, Nick Saban called them out. I know a lot of Texas A&M students, fans, supporters of Texas A&M have come out to my previous videos and, they've left some interesting opinions in there. But there's no way, no matter how you skin it, he's paying the players, and that's how we got the number 1 recruiting class. I don't know what to tell you guys. There's no way that Jimbo Fisher, let's just look at their record. I mean, 8-4, all right, COVID year, we're not going to. That was a little weird. And they should have lost the Orange Bowl, too. If Sam Howell had more support around him and all those guys for UNC weren't sitting out to go to the NFL, I think they would have lost the Orange Bowl. But, I mean, 8-4, 8-5, 9-4, 7-6. Do we really think that record you see right there is going to get you the number 1 recruiting class in the history of recruiting rankings ever? No. But you know what gets you the number 1 recruiting class in the history of college football? The oil money in Texas A&M. The oil money down in Houston, A&M, right around that area right there. And we'll see what happens with that. But, it's just kind of the big topic of discussion now, too, is what happens with the conferences. Because you had yesterday, I believe, it was Oregon, Washington, feeling a little left out the whole UCLA, USC thing. All of a sudden, they're going to talk to the Big Ten. All of a sudden, they're going to talk to the Big Ten because, they're feeling a little left out. And, the Pac-12, not quite as strong as it used to be without those 2 powerhouse programs there. They might not be powerhouses nowadays, but historically, very much what I would throw into the wide blue blood category for college football. The widespread, maybe not traditional. I mean, USC, a very traditional blue blood program, but UCLA, they had some good years, but as a brand as a whole, very impactful and powerful brand right there in the city of Los Angeles, the city of angels. Did not know about the invitation thing. It's quite interesting, though. But, I mean, it's just interesting that if we move to a super conference, like I said before, let's just do the Fox conference, ESPN or Disney conference, whatever you want to call it. I mean, ABC, ESPN, they're all owned by Disney. But those are the two individuals that are really driving this whole changing landscape is, Fox with their TV money and ESPN, ABC with their TV money. But it'll be quite interesting to see how it all plays out, how it all shakes out. But I don't know. It's going to be something interesting to monitor too, because it's just odd that I mean, it's not until 2026. So, I mean, we're 4 years away from it, and they're already coming out saying they're going to do a 12-team college football playoff. Now, that's 4 years away. Can they change their mind? Is this like set in stone? That's something that I don't know the answer to. I don't know if they've put ink to paper that, hey, we've committed, we've all signed away that it's going to happen this way. That I don't quite know the answer to that, but it could be something interesting to monitor. That would be it'd probably get mixed reactions, like they're getting mixed reactions now if they kind of came back in 2 years and, hey, let's not do 12 teams. Let's go up to 24. That'd be absolutely wild. They'd want to do some March Madness style bracket like some people are wanting, which it would be interesting. But you can't tell me that University of Texas San Antonio is gonna beat Alabama. It's not going to happen. I love UTSA. They got a great head coach there. I very much love his attitude that we're going to play anybody, anytime, anywhere. But I don't quite see it happening, people. I don't know. I don't know how you get the athletes on the field to match up with that. But, I mean, very much mixed reaction to go through here. Yeah, this guy gets it. Just Alabama, SEC, 1, 2, 3, 4. But it'll be quite interesting. Now that I've kind of gone through that little tangent of complaining about that, obviously you can tell I'm very much not a fan of the 12-team expansion. I'd rather do 6. Let's just do 6. Power 5 conferences each get an auto bid, conference champ. Super easy. Win your conference, you're in. There's no debate about that. Going in, you got to win your conference. You're in the playoffs. Keeps things simple. And then you do one at-large bid. That's what gives the TV hosts things to talk about. If Cincinnati wants to sneak in there, Notre Dame. We'll have to figure out how to do it at Notre Dame if they do that, though, because there's no way you can leave Notre Dame as independent. They're just going to get the at-large bid year in and year out, unless you think that a Georgia team is better than them. That could be interesting. If you do that, top 2 seeds get a first-round bye. Obviously you get 6 play 3. 5 play 4, and then lowest seed plays number 1, second lowest left plays number 2. I think it could be a pretty good layout, but who knows? Who knows how that plays out? But I mean, while we're talking on the whole thing about schedules, I probably should pull this up earlier. So I just want to look at who the top 25 teams are playing this weekend. So, there's some decent teams, some respectable games on there. Like this Western Michigan State game tonight, I think it's going to be closer than people think. Because Michigan State, I don't know what they have left in the cupboard right now. I mean, yes, Kenneth Walker is in the NFL, and they have a lot more transfers in there, but that's the thing, too. They have a lot of guys that transferred into that team, just like they did last year. So I don't quite know what to expect from this year. It could be another just ball-out year where they're making a New Year's Six bowl game, or it could revert to 2 years ago when they were more middle-of-the-road Big Ten team. But who knows with that. But, Western Michigan, the head coach, I'm trying to think. He used to be the head coach of Florida. He was with when Will Greer was there. I can't think. His name's escaping me right now, but he used... I don't know, I'm thinking of Central Michigan. Never mind. That's P.J. Fleck used to be at Western Michigan. All right, Central Michigan is the old Florida coach. But then we got Michigan, Colorado State. I think Michigan's going to take care of business there. I mean, last season they had this whole deal of Washington playing Michigan week 1. A top team in the Pac-12 playing a top team in the Big Ten, and obviously Washington very much had a down year last year, so it's not quite fair to make that comparison. That the same thing would happen every year. But also, Colorado State isn't one of the strongest Pac-12 teams. I would say that Colorado, Boulder, Colorado is stronger than Colorado State. So, I like Michigan in that. NC State, East Carolina. Like I said in my previous YouTube video, I would pick NC State. I just think they're going to take care of business. East Carolina could be a fun team to watch. Their quarterback situation should be interesting. Texas A&M, Sam Houston. A&M's just going to win. I don't know. Miami versus... I'll be honest, I would not be able to pronounce that accurately. I'd be doing a disservice to that university, that college, trying to pronounce that. So we're just going to say that Miami's going to win. And Cincinnati, Arkansas. This could be an interesting one. I had no idea what to expect from Cincinnati. I mean, you lose Kobe Bryant, Sauce Gardner as your two best defensive players. You lose your top wide receiver, goes and gets drafted by the Indianapolis Colts right now. You got your fifth-year senior quarterback who got drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. I just don't quite know who they had behind them just because those guys had been there for so long. They'd been around that program for a long time. Now, Luke Fickell, I like him as a coach a lot. I think Ohio State did a bit of a disservice to itself, but also him pushing him out the door for Urban. But that's a discussion for another time. I'm happy he was able to settle in for Cincinnati, and I hope they do well. I don't mind having a Cinderella team hang around. But, Arkansas, they have the quarterback coming back. They had a lot of good guys transfer into that program. I mean, one of the players that'll be really interesting to see is they had a 5-star linebacker from Alabama transferring there. He wasn't just getting playing time at Alabama, and he saw the writing on the wall. I mean, you had Dallas Turner and Will Anderson, playing ahead of him. He was a sophomore, so he would be a junior this year, I believe. But he saw the writing on the wall that he wasn't going to get playing time this year, so go jump ship to Arkansas. I was surprised. I thought he was going to go back to Texas, but he went back to Arkansas. Then you got Houston and UTSA. I like UTSA a lot, but like I said, business decision. I picked Houston. I'll be cheering for UTSA though. And Oregon, Georgia. Oregon was just absolutely just picked dry. Everybody wanted a piece of that Oregon football team last year. The NFL wanted some of their top guys, like Kayvon Thibodeau's now with the Giants. USC and Southern Cal wanted their stud running back. Miami wanted their head coach. Florida State wanted their best wide receiver. Their team was absolutely just picked dry. I think that that number 11 ranking is rather generous. I don't know if I would have ranked them that high to begin with in the season, but new head coach. Interesting storyline since the current head coach at Oregon was the defensive coordinator for Georgia last year. We'll see what happens though. And University of Texas El Paso versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma should take care of business. But I don't think Oklahoma is going to be as strong as people think it is. That offense will be quite interesting. Just like with Oregon, they were picked kind of dry in offense. Yes, they had Gabriel's transfer in there as quarterback, but Mario, the best wide receiver, Mario, he's at USC now. One of their offensive linemen at USC now. There's a lot of pieces and a lot of the coaching staff too at USC. So it'll be interesting to see how Brent's able to rebuild that team. There's a lot of just weird drama around Oklahoma these days. I don't quite know why. There's just a lot of weird, uncharacteristic drama around the program as a whole. These past, I don't know, I'd say these past 9 months, just a lot of weird drama around the program. Oh, what's going on, Jacob? Then BYU, South Florida, Clemson connections, a lot of Clemson guys at South Florida now. You got the former offensive coordinator there, but BYU is going to take care of business. They got very good quarterback coming back. He's going to take care of business. Troy, Ole Miss. I will say, the redemption arc of Lane has been quite interesting. It was kind of a little bit underwhelming to begin his coaching career. At USC and Tennessee, it was just a bit of a mess. And then the whole redemption arc, he went to Alabama. He was learning a little bit under Saban, then was kind of pushed out a little bit. And then he goes down to FAU and just he built a pretty dominant program now. And then he was at Ole Miss, and it's quite interesting. And now, what I'm looking forward to seeing most this year is the punter in the Ole Miss team. What other coach other than Lane Kiffin is going to go to some frat house and find a punter at the frat house? That's the most Lane thing I've seen in a while. And I fully expect Tennessee fans to throw mustard bottles at him again. I think if they do play, it's going to be at Ole Miss this year, but it'd be a funny thing. But Ole Miss, I like Lane a lot. Very interesting. Rice, USC, it's just going to be the Caleb Williams show. USC is just going to flex its muscles. But Albany, Baylor, Baylor's going to take care of business. Illinois State, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's going to take care of business. But, it's kind of just games like this that we need to kind of get out of college football somehow. I don't know how to do that. Rice has some good years, some decent years, but Albany, Illinois State, they should not be playing top 20 teams in Division I college football. I mean, that's just not where they belong, but that's why we need to get those practices in there. So, Baylor can call up, I don't know, whoever. They can call up Texas A&M, the SEC, and say, hey, we want to do a 3-day scrimmage with you guys. We'll house you guys on campus. Let's make it happen. But I don't know. I don't know what the right answer to that is. And Miami of Ohio versus Kentucky. This could be a sneaky game. It depends. Miami of Ohio seems to be that one of those teams in the MAC, the MACtion, baby, where it's just one year they're playing for the MAC championship. The next year, they're struggling to get 3-4 conference wins. And all of a sudden, the next year, they're suddenly just back up there competing for a championship spot in the conference. I don't know how to explain it, to be honest with you. I don't follow them closely enough to be able to accurately explain how it happens. I'm sure it has to do with transfer players, some guys leaving, some guys going, something along those lines. But we'll see. But Kentucky with their quarterback Will Levis, it's Levis or Levis. I'm sorry that I'm mispronouncing it. But I think Penn State fans are going to be upset watching him this year. They let him walk, and they held on to the quarterback that they have now. He got the job done last night. It was by the skin of his teeth. It was a complete 2-minute drill to score that last-second touchdown, but we'll see about that. Utah, Florida. Florida's a mess. It's going to be Utah. Everybody sleeps on Utah in the Pac-12. It's going to be Utah. And the big game of the weekend, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Now, this 17-point spread is deceiving. I would bet the under. I would absolutely hammer the under because Ohio State does not rack up points to begin the season. But at the same time, nobody knows what to expect from that Notre Dame offense. The defense should be solid, but Notre Dame's best offensive lineman broke his foot in camp, so he's out for the game. They got a new first-year starting quarterback, a new running back, it's a new group of wide receivers. Some returning guys, but the key players in the wide receiver room are going to be new. And it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. It could be an absolute boom or bust too. This Marcus Freeman experience could be boom or bust, I'm telling you. Because everything I've seen about Marcus Freeman, everybody loves the guy. Loves the coach. He seems like a great guy. I loved the video of him when he was introduced to the head coach. It was him and his family going in the weight room. And all the players were just going crazy. It seemed like it. I'm going to pull it up right now. Yeah, here we go.
We're extremely proud of you guys on your focus and your ability to lock in all week long this week, okay? It was awesome.
And just for context, this was after Brian Kelly jumped to LSU about a week before their bowl game.
See, awesome to be a part of. It shows who you are, your DNA, your mental toughness, your physical toughness, the way you compete, the way you care about each other. Okay, that's what this team run is going to be about. Competing, getting after it with mental and physical toughness, and being the best in the country at what we do. So we ready to do that? Yes, sir. All right, so what I'm going to do now, okay, because you're a brand new head football coach.
As you can see, he got a very positive reaction from his players when he was introduced. They seem to really like him as a guy, so I'm excited for him. I hope that his good things come this year. But it'll be interesting. So, I mean, if they can play as hard as they're excited for him right there, it could be a very interesting ball game. As Ohio State, I have no idea what to expect from Ohio State's secondary. Their D-line, the silver bullets on the D-line for Ohio State, they're going to be nasty again this year. There's no way around it. They're going to be absolutely nasty, as always. But the secondary could be a complete mess. If you can get to that second and third level in the defense and the running game, things could open up real quick. Same as, quick little throws. You got a new sophomore quarterback. Just kind of get some quick throws in there, get some action, and see what happens. Let your athletes make plays in space. But Marcus Freeman, I think he's a great guy. He seems to be getting a lot of highly touted recruits to Notre Dame, which is awesome for the program. Very happy for that. But on the flip side of that, he's also letting guys date around. I don't know if that's the best way to say it. But, I mean, they had, 4-star defensive end, highly rated 4-star defensive end he's committed to Notre Dame, but he also wanted to go to a recruits cookout for Texas A&M. Or I don't know why you're committed to Notre Dame and wanting to do a recruits cookout for A&M. And, you know, Coach Freeman said, yeah, sure, you can do that, which is fine. I kind of get, but they had another guy that went to Georgia, and he decided that he wanted to decommit from Notre Dame. And that's just something you can't happen. You got a guy that commits to you. It's a commitment. You know, it's just Coach Sweeney says, you know, it's a commitment to the university. It's a commitment to this program, this team. No more visits, no more none of that. And I think that's something he really needs to put his foot around. As other guys, you know, like Nick Saban in Alabama, it's Alabama. You want to shop around after committing to Alabama. All right, well, we're just going to pull your scholarship, and we got 100 other 4-star kids waiting in the wing that would happily take a scholarship to Alabama. And that's just not a luxury that this recruiting class, probably not next recruiting class either, that Notre Dame has with Marcus Freeman. Now, it could very well turn into that. If he gets this thing really rolling, gets that offense figured out, it's all going to come down to the quarterback in the day. Notre Dame just needs a stud NFL caliber quarterback. And it could be interesting to see what happens with them. But, you know, until then, it's going to be very much of a run-heavy offense, which will win you some college football games, especially early. I mean, that's exactly how Oregon went into at Ohio State last season and won, is they had 2 great running backs. They were able to run the ball down their throats and then use that to open up the passing game, get those quick throws going. And that's exactly what Notre Dame can do. Very heavy offensive lineman university. I mean, I'd even call him O-line U potentially. I mean, year in, year out, they produce high-level NFL offensive linemen. You know, not all of them are starters. Not all of them are first-round picks. But, you know, they're making the practice squad. They're making second string, third string for teams. They're just littered across the league. And you know, people don't give Notre Dame the credit they really do for that. But it'll be interesting to see what Notre Dame does. And I'm kind of excited. It's going to be a very interesting year. I'm pumped too. I kind of hope they win this game. I'm going to South Bend. I'm going to watch Clemson play Notre Dame. Hopefully Clemson takes care of business, but we'll see. A little bit nervous. It will come down to this game, though. Yeah, we'll see. But Utah State, Alabama, it's just so hard to pick against Alabama, especially week 1 at Tuscaloosa. It's just so hard. And then, you know, Clemson, Georgia Tech. We're taking Clemson. I mean, this is still a Clemson channel, right? Yeah. It's still a Clemson channel. So yeah, we're taking Clemson in this one. And Central Michigan, Oklahoma State. This could be a sleeper. Actually, it already played. I don't even know why. I don't even know why I said this is a sleeper. This one was already played, which was kind of close. But that West Virginia-Pittsburgh game, West Virginia, I was trying to throw the game. You know, that poor wide receiver for West Virginia, man. And somebody needs to give him some new gloves. Because, I mean, that thing was like a tip drill, you know. He just had it just boink right up. Pittsburgh guy catches it, runs it in there and for the touchdown. And then, you know, they tried some weird fair catch thing. I don't know why they shouldn't let it go in the end zone. They tried to, like, fair catch it at the 1. All of a sudden, the refs were thinking that, oh, no, West Virginia got the ball at the 1-yard line. You know, it should have been at the 20. They ended up resolving it and putting it at the 20. But the guys were just sitting there like, oh, you know, maybe it goes to the 1. And it was one of the things you're just like, oh, West Virginia is absolutely just throwing this game away. JT Daniels, ugh. You know, I still don't know what happened to JT Daniels. JT Daniels is the perfect example of why these recruiting rankings, these recruiting services, and once you get to college, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, it doesn't matter. All that ranking does, it gets your foot in the door wherever you want to go. It gets your foot in the door at Notre Dame. It gets your foot at the door at Oregon. It gets your foot in the door at Boston College. It just gets your foot in the door. And you got to go earn it. I mean, we got JT Daniels, 5-star recruit, number 1 quarterback in his recruiting class, and he's on his 3rd college right now. You know, he plays as a freshman at USC, Southern Cal, the real USC Southern Cal. You know, then tore up his knee in 2019, August 2019. It was actually this weekend. So I remember being in Vegas and watching it. So we'll see what happens with that. But then Keenan Slovis goes and takes over, and Keenan Slovis is at Pittsburgh now, which is kind of funny. So we got Keenan Slovis at Pittsburgh, and then you got JT Daniels, the guy that he replaced at West Virginia now, but JT Daniels went from USC to Georgia, and now he's at West Virginia, and he was the number 1 5-star quarterback in his recruiting class. Recruiting rankings don't make any sense, really, once you get to college. Like I said, it gets your foot in the door. It's a perspective, what they think you can turn into, but some guys materialize, and you got that 3-star Josh Allen that goes one offer to Wyoming, goes there, balls out, and now he's about to be one of the highest. He's actually one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So it's crazy. The whole Keaton Slovis thing, the JT Daniels thing, was quite interesting, just because they both started at USC. Keaton Slovis replaces JT Daniels. JT Daniels leaves. All of a sudden, Keaton Slovis gets replaced by Jackson Dart, and he leaves. And then Jackson Dart sees Caleb Williams come and say, "Hey, no, I'm gonna go to Ole Miss. See you guys." USC just has a revolving door at that. Wake Forest and VMI. I'm happy to see Wake Forest take care of business. I still do not know what happened to Sam Hartman. If anybody knows what happened to Sam Hartman, let me know. I still can't quite figure it out. They never officially came out and said what the medical issue was. Very under wraps. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I know he had a thyroid issue the year, like that summer between his senior and freshman year of college. I think it was more like the spring between his senior year of high school. Excuse me. I don't know what I was talking about. It was the summer in between his senior year of high school and freshman year of college. It was more like around April, May, that he had a thyroid issue they'd operate on, and he lost a lot of weight, had a big recovery process. But I'm pulling for Sam, man. I like Sam a lot. But going through these games here, all right, VMI. I'll leave Central Michigan in there. I'll leave Miami in there, Maction, but Rice, Albany, Illinois State. And I'm going to throw Troy into this group I'm counting. University of Texas El Paso, so that's 6. UTSA I'll leave. That's going to be a respectable game. Whoever Miami's playing, I'm sorry. I will do a disservice to your university or college by trying to pronounce that name. Sam Houston. Okay, so we of the top 25 in week 1, 8 of the top 25 teams are playing schools that they have no business playing. Right? We need to change that at college football. I don't know how we do it, how we go about enforcing it, but let's just make things interesting. Sure, you want a tune-up game, but let's give them a scrimmage to do that. Let's week 1, hit the ground running, give them a nice little scrimmage in August. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it all. I do want to show one thing, though, from that game last night. Was it on here? Oh, I guess neither one of them was ranked, actually. But that Purdue game last night, I want to touch on that. Purdue just kind of let that one slip through their fingers. I mean, 31-35, but Purdue just scored a nice touchdown off an absolutely just back-breaking pick six with 72-yard interception. This poor young man scores a 72-yard interception, and then he must have drank too much Gatorade, because he comes over to the sideline all of a sudden. He's just letting it rip on the sideline after scoring that touchdown, 72-yard touchdown. Everybody's losing it, and he's just throwing up on national television. It was an unfortunate time for them to get that camera angle. I will say, a very unfortunate time to get that camera angle, but it's one of those things where if you're a player on the field, there's gonna be a camera, whether it be a TV camera, a phone camera. Somebody's gonna be pointing a camera at you all the time. But anyways. Penn State goes in there and just 2-minute drill scores a touchdown, and Purdue just can't do it. It went from Purdue getting that back-breaking pick six, 72-yard interception to all of a sudden 2-minute drill. Penn State, Sean Clifford just takes them for the game-winning touchdown, and that stadium's dead. Drew Brees is there, and he's just the surrender cobra, just looking around like that's not good. And Purdue just couldn't quite get it rolling. It was unfortunate. I was really hoping they were going to pull that one off, and it was just, I wish. But you know what? It's Big Ten football. You know, the Big Ten, week in and week out, I don't know how they do it, but the Big Ten seems to consistently have the most competitive product in college football. I'm not quite sure how they do it, but just week in and week out, it seems like anybody can win. I don't know if that just means that maybe the conference isn't great as a whole. But I mean, even Ohio State seems to find ways to win by the skin of their teeth against teams like Minnesota, or they lose to Michigan. So I mean, even their dominant teams, and then Michigan State beats Michigan. So there just seems to be a lot of turmoil in the conference, which is great for an entertainment standpoint, from a viewer standpoint like myself. Absolutely great. But how do we take that and duplicate that in other conferences? I don't know the answer to that, because, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Mississippi State playing Alabama, when Dak Prescott was the quarterback, Dak Prescott, stud quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, making $40 million a year, was the quarterback for Mississippi State. Yeah, they were competitive with Alabama. I mean, who wouldn't be with Dak Prescott, a quarterback in college? But now, Mississippi State versus Alabama, yeah, I don't think it'd be that competitive this year. But, I mean, you go to the Big Ten, I look at Ohio State's schedule. I really believe Ohio State could lose. I mean, let's pull it up right now. All right, so Ohio State's football schedule. I think everybody would agree that Ohio State right now, best team in the Big Ten on paper. And it's all on paper. It can completely change during the season. But on paper, the combination of C.J. Stroud, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then C.J. Henderson. No, C.J. Henderson was drafted from Iowa. I don't know. I forget the young man's first name. His last name's Henderson. But the combination of those three, I mean, on paper, best team in the Big Ten. But, I mean, Notre Dame, Ohio State, they could lose that game. I mean, there's a very real possibility they could lose that. They're going to beat Arkansas State. They're going to beat Toledo. But, Wisconsin could absolutely just run the ball down their throat, And we'll see what happens with that. Rutgers, they'll probably win Rutgers. Rutgers is sneakily getting better in the Big Ten. Year in, year out, they just seem to be slowly closing the gap year after year after year. Same goes for the basketball program, too. Just year after year, they seem to be closing it more and more and more. Those Jersey kids are no longer going to Pitt like they used to. Not the Rutgers in the Big Ten. They're starting to go to Rutgers instead. So, I mean, that's good if you're able to recruit and dominate your region for recruiting. Now, it hurts your Penn State, Pitt teams that were getting a lot of kids from Jersey. But, it's the name of the game. Michigan State, they could very easily lose against Michigan State. Iowa, they'll probably beat Iowa. Iowa's got a good running back, but I don't know if I'm super confident in Iowa. But, playing at Penn State, it's probably going to be the whiteout game. But playing at Penn State, very easily could lose that. Northwestern, I mean, probably they'll win that, but I mean, Pat Fitzgerald year in, year out puts a competitive team together, so you never really know. Indiana could shock the world. I mean, year in, year out, it seems like Indiana goes down to that last 5-minute stretch against Ohio State, and all of a sudden Ohio State just piles on 1 or 2 touchdowns and just wins pretty easily. But if they can just close that gap, that fourth quarter gap, super competitive game. And Indiana's got a good transfer quarterback from Missouri this year, so we'll see what happens with that. Maryland, unless Tua's brother suddenly just got a lot better, probably not. But Michigan, they could very well lose that game. It could be a revenge game. Could be a little revenge game, or Michigan could show up and say, "Hey, we're here to compete. We're competitive now." So we'll see. But I mean, let's just count it up. So Michigan, Indiana. I want to go 0.5 in Northwestern, but I'm not going to include Northwestern on this one. But Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Notre Dame. So, I mean, six of their games are kind of toss-ups for Ohio State. Will they be favored in those games? Yes. But I could realistically see them losing any of those games. I wouldn't look at it and be like, oh, yeah, that's shocking that they lost. So how do we translate that to the rest of college football? I don't quite know. I don't quite know the answer to that. But it's a very, very interesting one. Yeah, but back to Purdue, Penn State. Purdue just. I'm bummed out about that one. I'm sure those of you that watched my pick'em video, they slipped through. Purdue just let it slip through their fingers. Oh man, I was hoping for a perfect week one to pick'em, but we'll see. There's always next week. But then, I guess this week too. Well, I guess I have to start talking about Clemson football. This is only a Clemson football channel, so But yeah, but Clemson versus Georgia Tech. So Clemson versus Georgia Tech. Clemson should win pretty handily, but at the same time, I have no idea what the offense is going to look like. I don't think anybody knows what the offense is going to look like, which is the exciting and nervous part too. Is that game last year against Georgia Tech, it was really, really close, closer than I would have liked, but it wasn't because the defense was bad. I mean, the defense is going to be great this year. I don't think people realize how great defense is going to be this year. Let me pull this up real quick. Let's see here. So, I mean, we're going to look at the draft rankings for this year. So this is ESPN. Will Anderson should be the first overall pick this year. Unless you got some team that's picking first, cough, the New York Giants or Carolina Panthers, cough, that is just dying for a quarterback and has to take, C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, or maybe the Atlanta Falcons. The first pick in this year's NFL draft should be Will Anderson. But who else is up there? Miles Murphy, defensive end Clemson. Brian Brzee, defensive tackle Clemson. So number 10, number 13 draft prospect. And then I believe Trenton Simpson should be right up here as well. Huh. That's interesting. I would have thought he would have been up there. Okay, but Trenton Simpson as the third ranked. So 61st overall player this year. He could easily climb into the first round. All he's got to do is cut his draft stock in half, get down from 61 inside that 32. Very easily could do. But let's just take for what it is. So Clemson's got 3 of the top 61 draft eligible players in college football this year. The defense should dominate. There's no way around it. The defense should be absolutely dominant once again, just as they were last year. And I think even just as good as that 2018 defense that Clemson fans don't want to admit it, but that 2018 defense with the Power Rangers, Kendall Joseph, Trey Lamar, and then absolutely studs too, and Isaiah Simmons, Trayvon Mullen, AJ Terrell. Those guys carried, they kind of carried Trevor Lawrence to that national championship. I said it. That's going to upset a lot of Clemson fans. I know. But I said it. We do not win that national championship game against Alabama if our defense is not as good as it was. It doesn't happen. And defense wins championships. And I think our defense is good enough this year to be a championship caliber defense. But we just need an offense that's not second to last in the ACC that can be competitive on a national schedule. Or national scale, I guess I should say. But that's really just what we need is a competitive offense to go in there and just take care of business. We don't need to put up 50 points a game. We don't need to be averaging 45, 50 points a game. We don't need that. We just need you to put more than 20 points on the board. Just put 25 points on the board and let our defense take care of the rest. If we're playing, a better team, we get to that Notre Dame. I'd even argue with the Florida State stretch of the schedule, the Notre Dame stretch, the Florida State stretch, and hopefully the playoffs. We may need 35 points. We may need 35 then. But until then, let's just get 25 points on the board. Let the defense take care of the rest. Move on to next week. Go dance in the locker room. Move on to next week. That just needs to happen. But, so, I mean, defense is going to take care of business. The nice part is Georgia Tech's defense was atrocious last year. Just they were, for as bad as our offense was, their defense was just as bad too in the ACC. So could their defense be drastically improved? On the D-line, they should be improved. The second and third level linebackers secondary, I don't quite know what their situation is, to be honest, fully honest with you. But you never know. You got to show up ready to play. And our offense, I just need some production. The quarterback situation will be interesting because everybody's pointing the finger, doing that. DJ's doing it. That DJ's going to be the starting quarterback. He's earned the right to be the starter. And I remember if we were doing a similar thing with Kelly Bryant too, where we were saying, he deserves the right to be the starter, and all of a sudden we put Cade in. Maybe we don't put him in until the third, maybe after half, or maybe right before half, and all of a sudden if the energy is just different on the offense. Coach, you got to leave him in there for a couple more series. We got to see what happens with that. But that's just my 2 cents. I'm not saying I hate DJ. I'm not saying I hate Cade, hate DJ. I like them both. I think they both have a spot on the team. But I just think we need to explore our options. So we all saw the game film last season. We saw what it looked like. And even the spring game, too. We saw what the spring game film looked like. We need to see who's going to be our best player in the most important position in all of sports. No other sport does any position touch the ball as much as the quarterback does. Hockey, you got multiple guys in the ice that are passing the puck around. Sure, you got your stars. You get your Sidney Crosby, your Patrick Kanes, your Ovechkins that are superstars in their sport, but they don't have the puck on their stick as much as the quarterback has the ball in his hands. Soccer, you got 11 men out there, you're passing it back and forth. Sure, Messi scores lots of goals, but it's not just all him. It's the team that's helping him, setting him up. Baseball, is a pitcher important? Yes. Does the pitcher have the ball in his hand more than the quarterback? You could argue yes, but also the pitcher only pitches once every 4 games, 5 games. I don't really know what the rotations look like exactly, but they're not pitching night in and night out every single game. So it would be bad for their arms if they did that. So I get that. And then basketball, you got 5 guys on the court. Sure, you got your Kobe Bryant or LeBron Jameses that are absolute superstars, but they got to pass the ball around. If it's all just them, you get to the NBA, you get to the college basketball. I mean, if they're really that dominant, they'll just start getting double teamed. And if you don't have guys around you that can help you out, you're not going to score. So we need to see who's going to take control of the most important position in all of sports. That's why quarterback's the most scrutinized position in all of sports, is they are the most important, regardless of sport, as long as it's not an individual sport. Sure, swimming, singles tennis, golf, you can argue that the athlete's more important for them winning in that position. But in a team sport, quarterback's the most important position. And also, why are we... it still blows my mind. The more I think about it, I mentioned this in my video about the Georgia Tech Clemson thing. Why are we disrespecting Bo Collins, who was consistently our best receiver week in and week out last season, by making him split time with E.J. Williams on the boundary? E.J. should be splitting time with Joseph Ngata. I mean, E.J. is a good guy. He's a good guy. I like him. I like Joseph too. Joseph's a very talented guy, but E.J. and Joseph have both had issues staying healthy. Versus Bo's been an absolute Iron Man for us. Just, yes, he pulled the hamstring over spring break, and he had the shoulder injury in August, but when it comes down to it, if it was game time, that man's lacing them up, and he's going out there and playing for us. And let's reward him for it. And I've said it a million times in this channel. I'm still on the Tristan Lay bandwagon. I've said it a million times, but I'm not going to beat that drum too much. Offensive line will be interesting. I think it's going to be a little bit of a working unit, just more than people think. A little more of a working unit, but it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. And then, running backs, pretty set in stone. Will Shipley, Ship happens. He's going to take care of business. He's growing out the facial hair. I saw a picture of him the other day. He's kind of growing a little bit of a beard. It's interesting. Different look for him compared to, he's gone His freshman year, clean shaven, then he had the little, Top Gun style mustache. And now he's got the full beard, so it should be interesting. But we can't be hammering Will Shipley like we did last season. He just got too many touches. I mean, both from a career standpoint in football, but also, a team aspect. We can't just lean completely on him and become one-dimensional, just get in the ball and counters, screens, off-tackle runs, and hope for the best. We need to expand our arsenal because nobody in the ACC is afraid of any position group on Clemson other than the D-line. You go back to, the 2015, 2016, 2018 teams, the teams where, we were competing for a national championship, 2020 or 2019, 2020 and all that. The ACC, teams in the ACC were scared of Clemson because they felt like any position group on that field could beat their guys. They felt like our receivers could be better than their secondary, our running backs could be better than the linebackers, our offensive line could be better than their defensive line, our quarterbacks were better than their defensive units. And the same goes for the defense, too. They thought our D-line was better than their offensive line, our defensive backs were better than their receivers. But looking around, I don't think anybody in the ACC is afraid of any position group at Clemson, minus defensive line. I really don't think that's the case. And we need to, as I forget the actor's name, but the defensive coordinator, remember the Titans, he's giving his team a pep speech, pep talk, telling them to finish the game, even though the refs aren't calling the game for you. You got to finish hard. And he says, make them feel you, make them remember the day they played the Titans. Well, we need to go to the ACC and make them remember the day they played the Tigers and their defensive groups. But that's kind of just what needs to happen. Take care of business, see what happens, and come out with a good win and hopefully more clarity on the offense, what it's going to look like. Because, new offensive coordinator too, and Brandon Streeter, I like him a lot. He, year in and year out, fills that quarterback room with extremely talented guys. So I think that he kind of, I don't know, I think he knows what he's doing. And everybody's pointing at, Brent, saying, Brent's been there since Dabo was there. Like, are you guys going to be all right? I think Goodwin's going to be all right. I think people are going to be surprised by him. I think he, from what I've read, from people I've talked to, he seems like he was a key contributor to the brains trust of the defensive unit for the past several years at Clemson. And I think that's just going to continue. I think we're going to be all right. We're going to handle business. We're going to be all right. But that's why you play the game, though. But I guess, 7 o'clock, some of the games are starting up, and, high school football starting up. I'm really excited to see, Providence Day, a team in Charlotte, North Carolina. They have a quarterback that everybody in the country is trying to get. I can call it. His name is Jaden Davis. But, Jaden Davis, everybody in the country is trying to get him. You got Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, LSU, Michigan, you name it. But he's playing a perennial powerhouse team in Charlotte Catholic tonight. And it'll be very interesting to see if he can take care of business against Charlotte Catholic. He might be the real deal, people. Now, I don't think he's going to Clemson just because we got Cade. We got Viz from Alabama coming next year as a 5-star, as his girlfriend's a freshman in Clemson this year. I'm sure he'll be coming in January, most likely. So I don't see him coming to Clemson, unfortunately, but it'll be interesting. Very, very interesting to see. So that's the high school game I'm going to tune in tonight, in addition to some of the college games that are on. But it'll be interesting. So go tune in to Western Michigan, Michigan State, and watch a little bit of high school football streams here and there. But hey, that's all I got for today, guys, people. Hopefully this first stream went well. We're going to, week after week, we're just going to keep getting better, keep improving, keep on climbing that ladder up. Now, there may be some downs, but we're going to keep on going up and up and up. But yeah, that's all I got today, guys. As always, have a great day, great night, I guess. Tell someone you love them. I'll talk to you guys later this weekend. Hopefully some good news from the college football world, but deuces.